So it's time to upgrade your normie keyboard. Perhaps you'd like something more like this. What we're looking at here is the Nuphy Halo75 V2. It's very flashy. But why would you want a flashy keyboard? Is it better for gaming? Does it just look really cool? Does it sound better? Well, we're going to talk about all of those things, but first, I'm gonna make myself a cup of coffee. Let's talk about the main reasons why you would want a fancy keyboard. The main one, of course, is that you just want some flashy lights. Just want to mention here that this product was sent to me for the purposes of making this video, but all opinions are my own. I wasn't asked to say anything specific, and I get to keep the product at the end. This thing has a bunch of different settings, and not only that, they're pretty easy to access. You just hold down this function button here and tap the left key, and you can change the different patterns. But I think the other main reason why you might be looking at a keyboard like this is that you want the fancy keyboards that the cool gamers have, and you know, the really expensive custom-made stuff that you can kind of build yourself, but you don't want to build it yourself and you don't want to spend as much money. This thing is $130 on the Nuphy website. Now, online on websites like Amazon, it's actually $150. I couldn't find it any cheaper than that, so I don't know, maybe it's cheaper to just buy it directly from Nuphy. Let's grind! So this fancy keyboard is going to bring you the fancy lights, and it's going to look a little bit like gamer keyboards that are really nice and minimal. You know, you don't need that number pad on the side. You don't need all of the extra space and width that you get with those big traditional keyboards. You just want the main keys here and the small set of function keys, like really squeezed in here on the side. You've got delete, home, and page up, page down. But the other thing that's really cool about these custom keyboards, apart from the lights, is the fact that they feel completely different to your average cheap keyboard. Now, I say cheap keyboard, this was probably more expensive or as expensive as this, but this is like a standard Mac keyboard that I use. Keyboards like these use basically the same technology that they use in laptops. You know, they're kind of nice, but you know, after a little while, they're not that satisfying to press. You know, your finger stops dead every time you press the button. You just feel like the impact in your fingers. If you actually type for hours and hours on end, the typing experience really does make a difference if you've got nice keys. And I have to admit, after switching to this Nuphy keyboard to use instead of my Mac keyboards at work, it's super addicting. I don't want to go back to having a normal keyboard. But I will, and I'll explain why. Let's talk about what features are built into this. You've got the flashing lights on the main part of the keyboard, the flashing lights on the outer edge of the keyboard. You've also got this light here in the corner, which flashes blue when you're using things like Bluetooth sync. You've also got a little logo here, which I don't think this does anything functionally, but it does also light up. And in a few other key places, it does light up. Right underneath the F key, underneath the J on the J key, and underneath the up arrow on the up key. Let's get one of these AeroPress filters out. Dump 8 grams of beans in here. So flashing lights in various places, but also you have these really lovely keys. Go to your computer right now and start clicking on the keys and go, what does it actually sound like? Does it sound clicky? Does it sound thuddy? Does it sound like chalky? Or does it sound like this? This is actually bliss, but it doesn't sound like a lot of other keyboards that I've had before. And when you look at the pictures on the website, it seems like there's quite a lot of dampening going on inside the keyboard. Like you've got the regular key cap, underneath that they've got the key switch, and then they've got the plate that the whole thing is mounted on. And I think the whole plate actually moves around so that it can absorb some of the impact. It slows that impact down so that you get less of a tick, tick, tick sound and more of a tack, tack, tack sound. It's not really a tack, tack, tack sound, it's more like a dack, dack, dack. And that's because it really softens that initial attack. So there's the lighting on the keyboard, the sounds of the keys, but then also just the experience of just pushing these keys. They feel like they have a really nice travel. At first I thought it was going to be kind of annoying to have to press a giant key when normally I'm used to just pressing laptop keys. But this thing, it makes you want to write. So it's plugged into my iPad at the moment, and that's kind of messing things up on my screen. Which brings me on to another important point, and it's the fact that it does work on my iPad. At first, like I read on the website, it said Mac and Windows, and it's got like a Mac mode and a Windows mode. You can change it on this key here on top. I thought, and that's a shame because really, I want to get away from my laptop. Anyway, I was pleasantly surprised to find that I was wrong. It actually does work on iOS and it does work on my iPad. So they're not just like Mac only shortcuts, they do work. So functionality works on Mac and Windows, but it also works on iOS, and that's thanks to the fact that it has wireless or wired connectivity. So you can plug it in using the USB-C port right here. It does come with a cable, but you can also switch it to wireless, and not only is it Bluetooth wireless, it also comes with a wireless 2.4 gigahertz dongle. The next thing I want to show you is feet. You can pull these feet out so that you've got a little bit more angle like this, and there's actually two different versions of the height. You can actually set it down like this all the way up, or you can use the half feet and get yourself a more gradual incline. But if you are going for a keyboard like this, do look at how thick the whole thing is. This is not a slimline keyboard. If you're going to be using this on a desk and you want to be comfortable and you don't want to have your wrist like this while you're typing, you probably want to have a wrist rest. There is really nothing more satisfying than pushing down this AeroPress. Oh, I forgot to bring a spoon, so I'll just stir it with my finger. Why do I do that? When you use it, if you've never used a keyboard like this before, what they do at Nuphy is they have 3 different levels. They have like the flat version, and they have the slightly rounded version, and then they have the super rounded version. And as you can see, it's kind of scooped like this. And that may sound kind of strange, but it's actually really, really comfortable. I really like it. It kind of keeps your hands in the right place. But there was one area that I didn't like it, and it's right here. You can see here on the arrow keys, there is like a ridge here and a flat end here, and a ridge here and a flat end here. So like to go from down to up, you actually bump up against this ridge on the up key, when really what I want to be able to do is to like slide my finger straight from the down to the up key like this, especially if you're playing fighting games and you're using the arrow keys. Not that you probably are, but when you are using arrow keys, it just really feels bizarre to have to like lift your finger off the down key to get to the up key, which is why I pulled this off and I actually just set it upside down. Now they are like exactly the same height right here in the middle. I can like slide my finger from up to down. And while we're talking about other things that didn't quite work for me, I always hit this button right here. It's called home. I actually have a shortcut. I usually use command and left to get to like the far left end of the line, or command and right. But in any case, in order to give you the home and page up and down keys and the delete key, they've squished them right here onto the right side of the keyboard, which means that when you're typing and you lift your finger over to get to the backspace key, and remember, even if you're a touch typist, there's like no position of your fingers that you can reach out to the backspace key without like lifting your fingers off the other keys. And so in a way, it's just faster to just like lift your hand over and hit backspace. Often I'll just be typing on my iPad like this, and then I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna delete something, and every now and then I'll go tap tap tap. I'll be like this, tap 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 tap, and then I'll hit home. This completely ruins my workflow. Like, no matter how long I spent with this keyboard, I could not get used to the fact that home, delete, screenshot, insert, end, all of these keys I would press by accident instead of backspace. What I really want is for backspace to be right here on the edge so that I can like feel my fingers over. I just slide my fingers over here. What is the key that is furthermost to the right? It's probably backspace. No, on this keyboard, it's home. Having the up, down, left keys right here where the shift key is supposed to be was another catastrophic issue for me, because every time I wanted to do like shift and then a letter for a capital letter, I would go like, here, I'm going to press shift T, and instead I would actually press up T, which meant that instead of getting a capital letter T, I would have a lowercase letter t on the line above the line I was trying to write. There's just no reason for this. Now, I've been complaining about the keys, but there's one thing that I absolutely loved about this keyboard, and it's the fact that it has got a command button right here. Now, on another keyboard that I reviewed in a previous video, you can see it was a little bit different because it has Control, Win, and Alt. But to my surprise and delight, they made it so it was like the Mac layout, where you've got Control, Option, Command. So Command is right next to the spacebar. So all of my shortcuts that I would normally use on a Mac, super easy to access. But despite all of these things, I found myself testing out the keyboard and finding like, I could get used to most of these things, okay? But then I started to wonder something really confusing. Why do custom keyboards, if you're a custom keyboard enthusiast, maybe you can tell me in the comments, why don't you have lit up keys? Is this just a Nuphy thing, or is this a custom keyboard thing? The lights are off, but you want to have lights and RGB coming from your computer, but you don't want to be glaring in your face. Okay, I can understand that. Maybe you want lots of RGB, but you want it to be not glaring, and so instead of having translucent keycaps, they're opaque. But as just a regular old person just trying to type on this keyboard and do work, and sometimes the room does get dark, like in the middle of the day, sometimes the sun just goes behind a cloud, and then I can't really see what's on the keyboard anymore. I look down, and I'm like, yeah, don't worry, my keyboard's lit up. No, it's not. I was like looking at this RGB light bulb, but then the thing that I really wanted to see, what key am I pressing? Couldn't see because it's not lit up. Really, that's it for my review of the Nuphy Halo75 V2. At this price, supposedly $130, but online it seems to go for like $150. You know, it's got a battery inside, so it will last when you're using it wirelessly, but you can plug it in. It does have flashing lights everywhere. If you did get translucent keycaps, then you would be able to solve the issue of seeing it. But more importantly than all of that is the fact that when you are just typing with it, it just sounds really nice. If you had two pieces of marble, like the stone, and then you wrapped them in like some soft silicon and you were like knocking them together. In fact, this is actually kind of a really good way to show what it sounds like. It's a higher pitch, of course, but it's kind of the same concept. It's like a muted but bone-like sound. And I love it. I absolutely love the sound of it. Home, I'm never pressing you, so goodbye. Delete, end, page up, page down, testing the keyboard, and then, oh! Amazing! Can't believe I just modified this keyboard and made it perfect for me. Listen, if you're interested in the Nuphy Halo75 V2 keyboard, then do check it out. I really think that apart from the fact that the backspace, position kind of annoyed me, it's a really lovely keyboard. If you really want to know the details of the keyboard, then definitely check out as many reviews as you can from people who are massive keyboard enthusiasts. But what I wanted to show you today was my opinion of this keyboard as a normal keyboard user. Someone who just uses it, a little bit while gaming, but mostly just for typing, writing out scripts or basically working. I tried it for like 8 hours a day and, it's like, okay, the typing experience is sublime. It's absolutely beautiful, but there are just a few positioning errors here and there that just made it kind of difficult for me. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Be sure to subscribe if you did and check out this video next if you're interested in tech and gear. That's all for today. I've been NihongoGamer. I'll see you real soon.